well, you couldn't handle it and are instead rolled up in a ball on your couch focusing on defeating your demons. Anyway, multiple medical studies have shown that high concentration THC flower does not help against anxiety, depression, and ADHD at all. What it does instead is give you an escape from your ADHD, depression, or anxiety for a brief moment whilst under the influence, and even that doesn't come without a cost. As if you smoke too much of this high THC flower, or really any weed, you'll build up a dependency and in return feel even more distracted, have more anxiety, and increased levels of depression whilst not under the influence. AKA, if your friend claims to be smoking that top shelf Zaza for anything else than a fun time, he's either lying to you, himself, or he's just been smoking up for so long he doesn't even remember what it was like to be sober in the first place. So through everything we talked about, I'll have to place this type of cannabis right on the border of unhealthy and medical, with a very high level of creativity and entertainment. But now let's talk about our first non-farm-to-table cannabis, and that is hash, aka traditional concentrate. Hash, short for hashish, is one of the oldest cannabis concentrates, made by collecting and compressing the trichomes, resin glands, of the cannabis plant. These trichomes contain the plant's cannabinoids and terpenes, making hash potent and flavorful. The potency varies heavily depending on the plant that was used to make it, but in general they can range anywhere between 20 to 60% THC. The biggest difference that me and other smokers I've talked to have noticed is that the high from hash, although quite strong, is usually shorter. And because this stuff is concentrated, 1 gram of hash will almost always get you higher than 1 gram of flower. The good thing about hash is, although it is concentrated cannabis, it is still natural. Traditional methods of making hash do not use any chemicals or solvents. Instead, they rely on mechanical processes like rubbing, sifting, or using ice water to extract the resin. Because of the wide variety of potency, it's quite hard to place this on our spectrum, but I'm going to put it just a bit closer to the medical side than the high potency flower, and a bit less to the creative side due to its shorter duration, which can make entering that trance state I talked about a bit hard. Other concentrates, 60 to 95% THC. Besides hash, there's like 10 different ways to get THC concentrate from the Zaza, some of which don't use solvents and some that do. If I were to go over every single one individually, this video would probably be like 30 minutes. And since there isn't really a huge difference in potency between them, I'll quickly summarize. Rosin, made by applying heat and pressure to cannabis flower, key for hash to extract resin. Live rosin, a solventless concentrate made from fresh frozen cannabis that's first turned into bubble hash and then pressed into rosin. Shatter or wax, extracted using butane or propane and then purged to remove residual solvents. Live resin, extracted from flash frozen cannabis using butane or propane, then purged. Diamonds, THC crystals. THC is crystallized using hydrocarbons and solvent-based processes. THC distillate, cannabinoids are extracted using solvents, aka ethanol or CO2, and then refined through distillation. Phew! And those are the most popular concentrates, which the most flavorful are usually live resin or rosin, as these retain the most terpenes. And the strongest concentrates are usually diamonds or THC distillate. But the reality is, unless you're like a super stoner, you probably won't be able to tell much of a difference between all of them, as every single concentrate is bound to get you absolutely bamboozled, unless you know, of course, you have an insane tolerance. The main takeaway from concentrated THC is that it builds up your Zaza tolerance very fast compared to regular bud, because of its high potency and usually shorter duration, making you smoke up more often. Which is why I will be placing them closer to the unhealthy side, but also the entertainment side due to the mind-boggling high it gives. But now onto the strongest type of smokable weed there is, in my opinion, and that is infused flower, aka moonrock or sunrock, 50 to 80% THC. You might be asking yourself why infused flower is ranked higher than concentrates when the THC percentage is actually lower. Well, take it from me, as someone who has done both dabs, aka concentrate, and infused flower, the small difference in THC percentage really doesn't matter in this case. The reason for that is, unlike dabs or the Benjamin, which on average has a shorter duration than bud, infused flower gives you that insane kick of concentrate whilst also providing the longer effect of normal bud, which in my eyes makes this the most potent smokable weed on planet Earth.
Shouts out to him in Upstate. They've been doing numbers on YouTube and Rumble. Check them out both places. Y'all already know.
But because you won't be smoking up as frequently and in return damaging your lungs a bit less, I'll put it just a bit closer to the medical side, but still definitely unhealthy. Now for the last type of Zaza that is in a league of its own, and that is of course edibles, infinite THC percentage. Why I rank Eddies as the strongest type of weed is quite simple. In the act of cooking cannabis, it turns into something different, something otherworldly, something psychedelic. If you watch some of my other videos, you'd know that I view super potent edibles as something entirely different than normal weeds. I'd even go as far and compare them to mushrooms. And science has my back on this because when you digest THC in your liver, it turns into something far more potent. In return, when you go to the cinema and watch Oppenheimer, you'll probably be overwhelmed and geeked up. Watch the video on the screen and you'll know exactly what I mean. Oh, and because you're not damaging your lungs in controlled doses